The evening air was cool and quiet, the kind of calm that often settles over a small town just before the streetlights begin to glow. Daniel Carter walked slowly along the sidewalk, his worn work boots scuffing softly against the pavement. In one hand he carried a small paper bag with groceries. In the other, he held the tiny hand of his 6-year-old son, Mason. Daniel was 38, with tired brown eyes and a face that had seen more worry than rest. His dark hair was slightly graying at the temples, and his flannel shirt looked faded from years of washing. Life had been difficult since his wife passed away 4 years earlier. But Daniel had learned something over the years. When life grows heavy, kindness is what keeps the heart light. Mason skipped beside him, humming a tune he had heard at school earlier that day. "Dad," Mason asked gently, "do you think tomorrow will be warmer?" Daniel smiled softly. "I hope so, buddy. Winter's almost done. Spring always finds its way back." There was wisdom in that sentence. The kind people only learn after life teaches them patience. The two of them were walking home from the grocery store when Daniel suddenly noticed something unusual near the old bus stop at the corner of Maple Street. At first, it looked like a bundle of clothes on the bench. But then the bundle moved. Daniel slowed his steps. Something didn't feel right. He gently squeezed Mason's hand. "Stay right here with me." They stepped closer. And that's when Daniel saw her. A young girl, maybe 8 or 9 years old, lying curled on the wooden bench. Her pale blonde hair was messy and tangled. She wore a light blue coat much too thin for the cold evening air. Her small face looked pale, almost gray. And her breathing. It was shallow. Very shallow. Daniel's heart tightened. He set the grocery bag down quickly and knelt beside her. "Hey there, sweetheart," he said in a calm voice. The girl's eyelids fluttered. She looked up weakly. "My chest hurts when I breathe," she whispered. Daniel felt a cold wave of concern move through him. Years ago, before life changed direction, Daniel had worked as an EMT. He hadn't practiced in years, but some instincts never leave a person. He gently placed his hand on the girl's shoulder. "You're okay. I'm here now." Mason watched quietly, holding his father's sleeve. Daniel checked her pulse. Weak. Too weak. Her lips had a faint bluish tint. He took a slow breath to steady himself. "Buddy," he said to Mason softly, "grab my phone from my jacket pocket." Mason did exactly as he was told. Daniel dialed 911. His voice stayed calm, steady, the way it had long ago in emergencies. "I've found a young girl unconscious at the Maple Street bus stop," he said. "She's breathing but weak. Possible respiratory distress." The operator asked questions. Daniel answered each one carefully while gently supporting the girl so she could breathe easier. "Stay with me," he whispered to her. Her small fingers weakly grabbed his sleeve. "I'm scared." Daniel's voice softened even more. "I know. But you're not alone anymore." Sometimes, that simple sentence is the most powerful medicine in the world. The minutes passed slowly. Very slowly. The evening sky was turning darker when something unexpected happened. In the distance, the low rumble of engines began to grow louder. Daniel glanced toward the road. Black vehicles. Several of them. Large SUVs, moving quickly down the street. It was unusual for such a quiet town. The convoy slowed as it reached Maple Street. Then one by one. They stopped. Doors opened quickly. Men in dark suits stepped out, scanning the area with urgent expressions. Daniel looked confused. One of the men hurried forward. He was tall, silver-haired, and dressed in an expensive coat. But his face was filled with deep worry. His eyes immediately locked onto the girl in Daniel's arms. "Emily," he shouted. His voice cracked. The man rushed forward and dropped to his knees beside her. "Emily, sweetheart." The girl opened her eyes weakly. "Grandpa." The man closed his eyes briefly, relief washing over his face. Daniel slowly leaned back, allowing the man closer. "Sir," Daniel said gently, "she's having trouble breathing. Ambulance is on the way." The man nodded quickly, his voice trembling. Thank you, thank you. One of the other men spoke quietly into a phone. Medical team arriving in 2 minutes. Daniel raised his eyebrows slightly. Medical team? Sure enough, another vehicle pulled up behind the convoy. Inside were 2 emergency physicians with full equipment. They rushed forward and began carefully examining the girl. Oxygen mask. Heart monitor. Warm blankets. Daniel stepped back, pulling Mason close beside him. Within moments, the doctors had stabilized her breathing. One of them turned toward the older man. She should be okay now. Looks like a severe asthma episode. The man nodded slowly. Then he turned toward Daniel. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The older man studied Daniel's worn clothes, his tired eyes, the grocery bag sitting on the pavement. Then he extended his hand. My name is Robert Whitmore. Daniel shook his hand. Daniel Carter. Robert Whitmore's name carried weight in many places. He was one of the wealthiest businessmen in the country. But in that moment, he was simply a grandfather who had nearly lost someone he loved. His voice softened. We've been searching for Emily for 2 hours. She slipped away during a family gathering. No one realized she had walked this far. He looked down at her again. If you hadn't stopped. His sentence faded quietly. Daniel shrugged gently. I just happened to be walking by. Robert looked at him with thoughtful eyes. No, he said softly. You chose to stop. There is a difference. A quiet moment passed. Mason tugged at Daniel's sleeve. Dad, is she going to be okay? Robert knelt down and smiled warmly at the boy. Yes, she is. Thanks to your father. The ambulance arrived shortly after. The doctors carefully placed Emily onto a stretcher. Before they lifted her inside, she looked toward Daniel. Her small voice was stronger now. Thank you, mister. Daniel smiled kindly. You just get better, all right? The ambulance doors closed. The convoy began preparing to leave. But Robert Whitmore remained standing beside Daniel. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a card. If there's ever anything I can do for you, please call me. Daniel accepted it politely. But he simply placed it in his pocket. Then he picked up the grocery bag and looked down at Mason. Come on, buddy. Let's get home. Robert watched them walk away down the quiet sidewalk. No cameras. No applause. Just a tired father and a small boy heading home for dinner. And Robert Whitmore realized something that evening. Kindness rarely arrives with wealth. It usually arrives wearing worn boots, carrying groceries, and holding a child's hand. Years later, Daniel would tell Mason something important about that night. He would say softly, Son, you never stop to help someone because you expect something back. You do it because one day, you might be the person who needs someone to stop for you. And that simple truth has quietly guided kind hearts for generations.